Hello, and we are back with yet another video. And today, in this video, my friend Ayush will be talking about his experience as a software engineer at Microsoft. For all those who are into competitive programming, Ayush needs no introduction, but uh, for others, still give a very brief introduction of him. Ayush is a software engineer at Microsoft. He also interned at Microsoft and later was converted to a full-time employee. He completed his bachelor's in CSE from Triple IT Delhi. And last but definitely not the least, he would be representing India at ICPC World Finals this year. So he was supposed to represent India last year, but due to COVID, everything got cancelled. So welcome, Ayush. I hope I did not miss anything.
Yeah, that was a great introduction. Thanks, Siddharth, for the great introduction. So,
Eh,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Ayush.
Oh, yeah. So, I'll just repeat what you said. So, hey, everybody. I'm Aayush, and I have recently completed my undergrad from Triple IT Delhi in CSE, and now I'm a software engineer at Microsoft with the Azure team. And I had interned with Microsoft in 2019 and got converted to a full time via PPO, and I took that offer, and here I am.
Thank you, Ayush, for taking out time for this. So, so as usual, we have divided this video into the following sections. We'll talk about the internship and full-time experience at Microsoft. We'll discuss a little bit about the requirements, how you should prepare your resume, what kind of preparation you can do before the interview, and what kind of application procedure you can expect. And then we'll talk a little bit about the interview process. So, and obviously at the end, since we have Ayush with us, we'll definitely talk a little bit about his ICPC experience as well. So, yeah, and I'll mention the timestamps for each of the sections in the description. Feel free to jump to relevant section. So, I guess we can get started. So, we'll begin with talking about your experience at Microsoft. So, Ayush, would you like to share your experience as an intern and full-time employee at Microsoft?
Yeah, sure. So, my internship with Microsoft, it was a great experience. So, I think my internship was for around 8 weeks, and the best thing about Microsoft was the campus at that time. Unlucky for the folks who missed it this year due to COVID, but okay, yeah, you'll get there till next year. So, I think my first day was basically some orientation. So most of it was just talking about the culture and all. So basically, they were just talking about what the company is doing, what is happening in this campus, what happens around the other offices. So that was it. Most of honestly, some of it was not as relevant to what I had to do in my actual internship, and somewhat of it is sort of hazy. So I'll maybe jump to my actual experience. So during my internship, I had a manager and a mentor. So my manager was also a previous intern. I think in 2006 he was interning and then joined Microsoft as a full-time employee and has been working there ever since. And he is he's sort of a genius there. I mean, whenever you had some problems, you could go to him, and uh, similar thing with my mentor. So I was working on this project called leveraging Kubernetes as a alternative to AP containers. So AP stands for autopilot. So within Azure, I'm working with the autopilot team. So basically, this team provides cloud services to internal customers, being Xbox Office, etc. So fortunately for me, I had basically a project partner with me who happened to be a batchmate of mine from the same college. So it actually took care of a lot of social stuff when we were starting. So when we didn't know a lot of people, so uh, we could go together and play pool and all. So it was good. And for the initial first, I think 2 weeks or so, we usually used to hang around with our college mates. I think there were five of us. But after that, within our accommodation, we met new people as well, and we became good friends, and then we started hanging around. So apart from that, the culture is quite open, I should say. I mean, no dress code as such, quite a casual environment. People are playing pool, foosball, and I think carom, table tennis, etc. And mostly it. So again, everyone has an open door sort of a policy. You can just go to them and ask if you are running into some problems. Our mentor used to check in once in a while, like once in a day or so, and used to make sure that we are not facing any problems. So yeah, pretty good culture, I would say. And the same has been true in my full-time experience as well, minus the mentor part.
Right, right. So from what I gather is that it was truly an holistic experience, like in terms of from manager to entertainment part to the project part, learning, and then the culture. Everything was really good there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's correct.
Okay, okay. So you were working on leveraging Kubernetes during your internship. So what kind of projects are you working on now? So I know that you cannot give us the details or anything, but like an abstract idea of what you are working right now.
So right now, as I mentioned, I'm working in this autopilot team which provides cloud services to internal customers. So basically, we have a repository which is based on Perforce, and there is a mammoth project going on that we are supposed to migrate that into Git. So
Okay,
a lot of things have to be taken into account. Most importantly, the transition period when some of the people would have some hardcore dependencies on this purpose-based system, and some of them would be willing to switch to the new platform. So mostly it, and during the process, we also want to keep our repository clean, so to say, no binary files and no large files, no useless files as such. So we are doing some validation checks. So yeah, that is mostly what I can talk about.
okay, great, great. So what has been your like? What was your tech stack exactly when you were intern, and what kind of tech stack are you working? Are you using right now?
For the tech stack, we have one tool, a proprietary tool, which one of our senior engineers has written some years ago to monitor these servers, these cloud servers that we usually handle. So most of the day is spent looking at this tool, looking at logs, graphs, and so on. Otherwise, most of the code base we have in C Sharp and C++, from what I gathered, and lot of it is also some scripts, PowerShell, CMD, and obviously it is Microsoft, so everything is Windows. Pretty much everything runs on Windows, from servers to our laptops and all. So that's another thing, and we have a proprietary code review tool, and yeah, as I said, Git and Perforce are what we use for collaboration.
Okay, okay. So I think did I was writing as you were saying. So did I miss anything in the tech stack?
Uh,
I guess
well,
that's
not really. Yeah, not really. Yeah.
okay. Great. So so moving to the next point. So I mean, it's Microsoft is famous for pampering all its employees. So what kind of perks and benefits did you enjoy, or what were the best ones according to you?
The best ones were, I think, unlimited soft drinks, I would say. So we used to drink
Right.
a lot of Coke, and we had both the bottled versions and this fountain that you see in McDonald's, and also you can just go there and just fill up your glass, maybe mix up different things, the Pepsi, some Seven Up, whatever. So I mean, that was actually better than the bottled ones. So I think that was the best part. But apart from that, again, we had all these games. as I said, table tennis, pool, foosball, and all. And we also had Xboxes lying around, Xbox 360s, Xbox Ones. Sometimes FIFA, etc. That. So during my internship, we also, I think, received some gifts. I don't know, some goodies. I don't know, some shirts and a bag. Okay, I don't remember a lot of other things. But as a full-time employee, again, those goodies keep coming. So that's great. Uh, but well. Mm, yeah, we also have a allowance of 19,000 to purchase anything related to fitness. This year you can also use it for purchasing mouse, keyboard, and whatever. So recently this limit has also been bumped up. So that's also a great thing. So that is, I think, what are the perks are mostly. Right now I don't know a lot of things because again we are working from home, so a lot
Right.
of things we can't really experience there. So mostly they can just ship goodies to you, provide you allowances. So that is what the most part what we have.
Right, right. I'm sure most of us are eagerly waiting to move back to offices and work from this, and I hope
Yeah.
that'll happen soon.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay, okay. So let's move on to the next part of our discussion, and let's talk about the requirements. So, Ayush, are there any GPA constraints while you're applying for Microsoft, or is there any bare minimum GPA someone should maintain if he's planning to apply for Microsoft in the future?
Again, as I said, I had participated in the recruitment drive they conducted in my campus. So I applied via the on-campus process. I think there was a GPA criteria. It was fairly low, 7 or 7.5 out of 10. And I think 95-97% of my batch made the cut, and almost everyone was participating in the process. So, if we talk about off-campus placements, I think the criteria should be similar, but I'm not sure.
Okay, right. So it's good if you maintain a GPA above 7, 7.5 for on campus, and like it's always good to maintain a GPA as high as you can, but you should definitely aim for something above 7 or 7.5.
Yeah, maybe if you are going for a ninth GPA, then maybe you are maybe compromising a lot of different things for academics. But yeah, somewhere in the eights should be fine.
Okay, okay. A balanced GPA is always good. Right. So moving on to the next point. So if someone is planning to apply for Microsoft, what kind of resume he should maintain, or what projects need to be there, and what kind of impact, or what how does the resume and projects affect uh, a candidate's application at Microsoft?
Okay, so again, I had participated on the on-campus placement, so there was no resume screening as such. There was just a coding round. I mean, for everyone who went the GPA criteria, the fairly low one, there was a coding round, and once you made past the coding round, you had the actual interview process. So, as far as I know, they didn't even look at the resume before interviewing me. But then, if we talk about the interviews, then yeah, we were supposed to show them our resumes, and they did ask some questions. So personally, for me, I had like 3 or 4 projects which I mostly made as part of some course project, and I think I also did a workshop training internship with Coach Chef earlier that year as part of my community work requirements for my college. So that was what I had on my resume. My interviewers were interested in the game change reaction type of game. We made a Java applet. It was again a course project, so we made a Java applet, and almost the same thing as the chain reaction game. You might recall it was once quite popular, the
Right.
mobile phone app. So we added some extra functionality to it, some network play, multiplayer mode. So they were interested in that. But yeah, so mostly for me, it was the first 5 minutes or so. That was just some little chat about the resumes. So that is for the on-campus part. For off-campus part, I think unfortunately there has to be some things on your resume that you need to get considered. Either some good project, maybe a GSOC, etc., would be really good. Maybe some achievements, maybe something in ICPC, some very good regional performance or something. Or otherwise, you can always work on some really good projects. There can be some course projects. You should, in my opinion, go the extra mile in your course projects so that they become good enough that you can put them on your resume. And if not, you can always pursue some pet projects of your own. And if they are good, you can put them there.
Right, that was really insightful, Ayush. And I guess there were a lot of key points in what Ayush said. So there are so many things you can do to make your resume and look good, and not just your for the sake of resume. Like there are millions of learning opportunities. So there's open source, and in open source there are so many programs like GSOC, Outreach, etc. Then there's ICPC, and and even your course projects, you can take them seriously because those are some serious learning opportunities. I guess that was really insightful. So, talking about the preparation, like what preparation one must do before appearing uh, for the hiring process, and preparation in terms of data structures and algorithms, as well as your core computer science subjects.
Okay, so for preparation, the interviews were mostly just DS and algos, and I think my college did a really good job on the DS and algo intro to programming and the sort of coding-based courses. So almost everyone was really well equipped as far as the knowledge goes for the interviews. But then I was also into competitive programming. I had been doing it for I think 1.5 years before that. So I think somewhere that also played a crucial role, and I became really fast with coding. Basically, if you have some problems, so I could write codes fast enough that were generally free of syntax errors. Obviously, there might be some logical errors, but otherwise, it just makes you more comfortable when dealing with problems. So apart from that, I think one can also do some lead code. I think so. The thing with lead code versus competitive programming is that lead code teaches you how to handle a lot of edge cases. For example, you have this problem, let's say a to the power b modulo m. So when you are solving this problem normally, you'll just write a 3-4 liner and you are done. It is okay. But when you are solving the same problem with lead code, then you have a lot of special cases that what if the exponent is negative? What if the modulus is zero? What if it is negative? What if you are given some zero to the power zero? So if you start lead code, it will become quite annoying at first, but then I think after 2 weeks or so, you will become comfortable enough. So I think after that point, I think you should really do some lead code for again uh, 1 week or 2 weeks when you become comfortable enough with these special cases and uh, uh, because generally in interviews what happens is interviewers sometimes deliberately leave out these details, these edge cases, and you are expected to ask to bring them up and ask them what to do in these cases. So if you ignore that, then I think they will tell you eventually, but it counts as something negative. So best is to be prepared. Do some lead code, maybe some competitive programming would help, but not really. Maybe if you're familiar with code forces, then generally interview problems are like a diff to A, diff to B in the worst case. But apart from that, you really don't have to do a lot. But then in interviews, the most challenging part I would say in interviews is the mental pressure that you have.
Right.
So you generally while in the interview you have a lot of question on your mind. Hey, that there's a lot at stake. This interviewer didn't really ask a lot of questions on my resume. Are they really interested? So all sorts of different things. So I think. Generally, a lot of interviews are like that. You are given problems that you can otherwise easily solve if you are sitting in isolation, but then when someone is looking over your shoulder and basically scrutinizing everything you do, so then it becomes really challenging. So, apart from knowledge, I would say an equally important thing is how you are prepared mentally for the interview.
Okay, okay. So to sum up what you said, just correct me if I'm wrong. So to sum up, so competitive programming, experience in competitive programming will always be a plus point. But like, even if you're not really into competitive programming or have no experience with it, if you have done sufficient practice on lead code and you have the experience of handling edge cases and you've done sufficient amount of questions on lead code, you should be good to go for a Microsoft interview,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
But
And
again, I can't stress enough for the mental part that I mentioned, because I think most of the challenge comes from the pressure that you have during the interview, not the actual problems itself.
right, definitely. And one thing that competitive programming does is prepares you to solve a question in as soon as possible or in as less time as possible, which you
Hmm.
miss out when you're doing lead code or interview bit or geeks for geeks. So I guess timed practice can be one thing that can really help bear this mental pressure during interviews.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
And we've talked about the DSA part. So is there like do we need to face core CS subjects like operating system, computer networks, architectures during Microsoft procedure at any time during the procedure? And if yes, what kind of preparation can we do in that?
No, I think it is mostly just DSA. I think in my last round we had some open-ended design question. It was not really system design. It was mostly some ad hoc problem which wasn't solvable by DS and algos. You had to basically come up with some abstract ideas and how to do it. But mostly it is DS and algos. With some other companies, yes, you might need OS, DBMS, etc. So it is a good thing if you are prepared. But if you're speaking of especially Microsoft, then I think with especially internship and I think in full-time interviews, you don't require anything apart from DS and algos.
Sure, sure. And okay, so like we all know one method to apply is that if Microsoft visits your campus, you can if you fulfill all their criteria, you can sit for their on-campus drive and then be a part of the procedure. So, what other methods are there for someone who wants to apply for Microsoft and MS does not visit their campus?
Well, I would say well. Yeah, I think the best approach is to talk to somebody for a referral. Again, you might need a good enough resume, which so that something stands out and the person is interested into referring you. And yeah, generally, I think people are sort of open about referring others as long as you just are not really just applying just randomly. You do seem somewhat interested. Your resume does list out some good projects, good achievements, or something. And after you are referred, then your application gets submitted, and you might be reached out by a recruiter. And after that, I think the interview process is the same as what happens during the campus recruitment drive.
Right, right. So Microsoft has a fully functional careers page. I'll just post the link for the page in the description. But as I said, that the best way is to go by the referral way. So just reach out to your seniors or people you know who are there in Microsoft, and or maybe reach out to some people who work in Microsoft via LinkedIn and just ask for a referral and go ahead. Okay, so this was really informative. So moving on to the last part of the discussion, or not the last part, the second last part, we'll obviously talk about your ICPC experience. So the second last part, your a brief overview of your interviews. So now I know that you gave your interviews almost 2 years back. So it would be really difficult to recall everything about the interview, but a very brief overview of like what types of rounds or how many rounds were there and how many questions per rounds, and or what kind of questions, like hard questions, medium questions.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, it has been a while, I think 3 years since I gave these internship interviews. So if I remember correctly, so first of all, we had this coding round where we had
Okay.
some three DS and algo-based questions. I think difficulty-wise, again, those familiar with code forces, they were mostly like diff to A, somewhere between diff to A and B, maybe. But the hard part there was the platform that they were using to conduct the interviews. There was no, I think, I don't know, there was bracket completion or not. You couldn't really duplicate lines. When you are running a code, you couldn't really print and debug. So
Right.
it was somewhat annoying in its own right. But otherwise, the questions were easy. And the I think I was done with them in maybe a half the allotted time. But I think everyone was. So
Okay.
that was for the coding part, and after that, on the actual interview days before the interviews, they released a short list who cleared the coding round, and I think the cutoff was out of the three people who did two at least. They I think they were moved
Okay.
forward to the next stages. So the next stage was a pen and paper round, and it had again two questions. Again, easy ones, but then you had to write some explanation as to what are you doing and some pseudocode. Sadly, I don't really remember the question. That has been a while, but I
I,
think
I
well, okay, I don't remember correctly. So after that. It actually cleared quite a I mean only a few people cleared that round, and after that we were in for the interviews. So the interviews were there were three interviews actually. So okay, so in my first interview, I was given some three questions after some informal chat about resume and all. I was given three questions, and funnily enough, I do remember that I had misunderstood the question, and I think the interview was supposed to be for I think half an hour, and for the 15 minutes or so, I was solving some different problem, and after I presented it to her, then she's like. Hey, no, okay, okay. First, she's trying to understand, and I'm trying to explain, but afterwards, she's like, you know, you're aware that this was the problem, etc. And I'm like, oh no. So I think the solution to that was really simple. I think so. Just give it out, and after that, the other two questions we did, uh, they were again easy. Again, diff to A's, I think. So yeah, so. I think one of them I gave the expected answer that she was expecting, and for the third one, I think it was a different approach. I think she like the idea of me. It was I think somewhat different than what she had imagined.
right.
And okay, so after that, there was a second interviewer, and yeah, he was this sort of this very jacked up guy and quite intimidating in his personality. And again, so that is from where I was really emphasizing the calm and composure, this mental challenge part for the interviews. So what happened in that interview was, first of all, he asked, I think, again, I don't remember exactly the question, but so there was I was asking him that what to do in this special test case. Do I return some invalid value or do I throw an error? This throw statement typical. And then he's like, do whatever. And I do
Okay.
one of them, and he's like, hey, this is not how it's supposed to be done. And he really scrutinizes me on that one, and I am sort of tense here. What is going to happen? And then he gives me a second question, and I remember I had some difficulty in understanding it because it first of all it seemed quite trivial to me. Hey, this is you can just do it with this two-liner, and then he's like, no, I don't want this. I want some these conditions to be handled. I'm like, okay, then we can do this. Then he's like, no, we want this condition to be handled. And after that, when I really understand the point, then I am quite tense. We have wasted a lot of time. Yeah, wasted a lot of time understanding the question on the previous question. So I am writing code and he's looking over my shoulder and I'm really tensed. And then he goes out to get some coffee and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I can just think about it in peace. And after he's gone, I am able to write the algo comfortably. And when he comes back, he sees it. He's like, okay, and again, I move on to the next round. So
Right.
yeah, the third round was this open-ended design problem where you are not really expected to write a pseudocode, not really a DS and algo-based pseudocode, but just do some ideas, etc. Uh, so again, as soon as I step into the interview room with him, he's like, "Hey, this is the question, so solve it or not. You go home either way." And I'm like, "Okay." And okay, so yeah, some
So
clarification questions, but that was somewhat easy, I would say. I think it was some graph related question, if I remember correctly. But okay, it was easy. So I just give him the algo that okay, this is what we do in this case and that, and then he's like, okay, yeah. This is good. And then he asked me about, hey, so what are your expectations with this company and something like that. And that was the time I got the hint that hey, I think I made it. So okay, after this interview is done, they release the list that who made it. So I think five of us got selected. So yeah, that was mostly it.
okay, I'm
Uh,
sure seeing that list must have been a great feeling
Yeah,
that
yeah,
time.
yeah, definitely. Because we were in formal, basically uncomfortable formals. We did college, I think, 7 in the morning, and at that point it was, I think, 8 p.m. It was a
Right.
really long and tiring day.
Definitely. And from what I gather is that apart from being well versed and prepared in DSA, two things to keep in mind during interviews is to stay calm, because like the more you get nervous or the more anxious you get, the worse you're going to perform. And secondly is to keep discussing your approach. Like as soon
Mm.
as you think of something, just keep discussing it with your interviewer, because like in the first interview when you went off track, or you were solving a essentially a different question, like discussing approach saves time there.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Yeah, that's good.
Right, definitely. So I guess that sums up our discussion about Microsoft. If I missed out anything and you would like to add, Ayush.
I can add some PPO related stuff there. So again,
Okay.
I was an intern there and I got converted to an FT. So I would say getting PPOs at Microsoft is generally easy. A lot of people get them. So again, the process of getting a PPO is basically uh, your manager and mentor. First, they have to be aware of what you are doing and what impact you are delivering. And there are two presentations during your internship. I think one at I think the 5 or 6th week, I think the 5th week, and the second at I think the last week. Yeah, I think that is correct. So in this presentation, all other managers are also present who manage different interns. I think you also have the M2s, basically the manager of these managers sometimes are also there. And I think uh, after these presentations, they have a meeting that who to give a PPO, who to not. And generally, your mentor, most importantly, and your manager have a huge say in you getting a PPO or not. But generally, people do get it. Um Apart from that, uh, generally, when you get a PPO, you return as an FTE to the same team. This is what happened in my case, and almost everyone else I know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that is it mostly.
Sure, Ayush. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that. So, before ending this video, we will just quickly go over your ICPC experience. So, if you could just briefly explain to everyone what ICPC is, how should, uh, if anyone is seriously willing to go for ICPC, so like what kind of serious preparation one needs to do, and what was your experience at ICPC?
Okay. So, my ICPC journey I think started when I was participate. When we had this DS and Algo course in my second semester, I also started doing these long challenges and became really interested. So I used to spend a lot of time there. Generally, have my laptop open during the lectures and all, and thinking about stuff, coding and all. So. Yeah, after I did these long challenges, and soon after, someone also introduced me to the site called Code Forces, sorry, and it generally has a contest, 2 hours contests, and you are given some rating points based on how you perform, and you have these titled specialist, expert, candidate, master. So. Luckily for me, there was a great competitive programming culture at my college. So within my coding club, there was after every code forces contest, there used to be a discussion. Hey, I couldn't solve this problem. What was the approach? So overall, a very healthy environment, a really motivating environment. So uh, that is how it started. So I seriously got into it during my vacations. After my second semester, I started doing something called as virtual contests on code forces. So basically, after the contest is over, you still get to participate in this contest virtually. So basically, the standings they get updated as if you were sitting right there in the contest. So after 2 minutes, if people have solved just one problem, it will be shown as that. So everything like a real contest minus the rating part. So I used to do I think 2 or 3 virtual contests per day. I now I think that maybe that was a lot. I should have maybe focused more on upsolving problems that I couldn't solve during that time. But okay, that is how I did it. So that was mostly it. And apart from that, my college also had these competitive programming courses, CP1 and CP2, one after the first year, one after the second year, which I enrolled in. And I for 3 times I went to the regionals in my second year, third and fourth year with different teams, and that was again motivating in its own right. That you are going to a different place, you are meeting all sorts of enthusiast people there, solving a lot of problems, getting free food, etc. So. That was it, and obviously you had this distant road to world final, the sort of a challenge, which fortunately came true for me. So and that was it. So with ICPC again, you generally do participate in a lot of practice contests. These are ICPC is essentially a 5 hour long contest. The regional and the world finals, 5 hour long contest. So generally with your team, you also practice a lot, maybe like 2 times a week or 3 times a week, writing these 5 hour contests and upsolving them for the problems you couldn't solve. So again, we used to work out our timetables that okay, when everyone is free, we can do these contests. Generally, we preferred them to do in the computer lab, sitting physically together, sharing the same PC. So yeah, that was it. So as the years went by, I did more of a practicing. Basically in fourth year, it was like a lot of upsolving. But well, again, there is not really a secret sauce to this.
Right.
You just really have to write a lot of contests and make sure you upsolve problems that you couldn't solve. Maybe ask people for help. Maybe read editorials. Maybe read other comments for alternative approaches. Uh, so that is mostly it. And you can maybe also enroll in some maybe some math courses, some maybe some other courses that would help you with CP. So personally, for me, I had enrolled in this combinatorics course in my second to last semester. So it was mostly about these. basically a combinatorial as well. How many configuration can there be if these are the conditions and all. Unfortunately, the instructor taught me something called Burnside lemma, and we were able to actually utilize that in my regionals in Kanpur last year. So that came in quite handy. Oh, well, mostly it. I don't know if this was really as insightful because again, as I said, you just really have to practice, absolve, just mostly hard work.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely really insightful and helpful. And not only helpful, it was quite motivational as well. And we really wish you all the best for your world finals.
Yeah, yeah, if it
We hope
happens,
you.
right?
I'm sure that they'll conduct it. Not even if not this year, they might shift it next year.
Yeah,
But,
maybe. Who knows? Yeah,
but
but
I'm
I hope
sure
so too.
they'll
Mm,
do it. So like all the best for your world finals.
mm. Thank you.
So I guess with this we kind of covered everything on the agenda today. So if by chance we missed out on anything, please feel free to write in the comment section. We'll try to address your queries. And with this, I'll say that's it for today. I'll end this video here. Thank you. Stay safe and keep learning. Bye.